for 9 years, and one of the fascinating things while I was plant explorer in Africa, like Indiana Jones, soon after I got my degree in Portish University, I realized that the same species in different countries has different applications, and people select it as different varieties. For instance, rocket is a rucola in Italian, and the rucola in Italy, we like it bitter, we like a very nice strong taste. If you go to Egypt, they like a rocket with large leaves and with very mild, bland taste. So this is again a diversity that has to be safeguarded in our diet. That's why it is also recalled that each country may give its own specifications to the diets. When we talk about our crops, there are crops that have been lost, like this Cornelian cherry, a photo that I took in Turkey, and this is also a crop that is disappearing. So the loss of diversity, the decline of diversity can originate from different causes. We can have a reduced economic competitiveness, we can have an unfavorable policy environment, but also we can have also over-harvesting in the wild. Think about spices. People may not know, in this room many people may not know, but I had this opportunity to study oregano. Oregano is such an important spice. You will be surprised where all the oregano comes from. Majority comes from Morocco, and it is harvested in the wild. So we need to have also approaches to better manage these wild populations. And lastly, let's also, we talk about the sustainability, climate change. I like also to have it, what will be the Mediterranean diversity in 50 or 100 years from now with the climate change trends? We know that very well. We know that the temperature is going to rise. What is going to be the impact on our food nutrition security? So we have to select varieties that are resistant to climate change that we will be experiencing in 50 years from now. Another aspect that has been a great concern to us is the loss of indigenous knowledge. Mothers are no more transmitting to their children the knowledge on how to recognize, how to cook, how to appreciate the diversity. This is a study I did in Lebanon with a PhD student, and we realized that all the knowledge on how to use vegetables is in the hands of people 70, 80 years old. And these people are no more passing because, you know, there is also these difficulties of getting younger people interested to these cultural traditions. Those of you who have visited the Middle East know Akub. Akub is a member of the Asteraceae family, and is a very interesting crop. This is being harvested, and the over-harvest is destroying these populations. Now, FAO is going to release in the coming weeks the second State of the World report for plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. This is a very important report. Why? Because it is the latest picture about the status of conservation and use of our biodiversity in agriculture. And what we have contributed, we have worked with FAO to develop this, and we have seen that the reports from all the countries present a very dramatic situation. There is a genetic erosion affecting our agricultural biodiversity. Sometimes this is taking place very silently and we don't realize it. So, when I'll go fast, what should be then, given this scenario, what should be the framework needed to promote Mediterranean diet and its agrobiodiversity in a sustainable manner? And now, I like very much this picture that was developed by some of my colleagues, because this is the so-called livelihood framework, where you find agriculture, biodiversity, nutrition, and people's livelihood. So as you can see, you have socio-cultural tradition on one hand, you have income generation, you have health, nutrition, and then you have biodiversity. But look at the position of the diet. The diet is at the core, is at the center of this complex interaction that involve these four important domains. And so why this is important? Because when we talk about the sustainability of the Mediterranean diet, we have to keep this graph in mind. So I will have now a few more slides just to show what is our work, how we can contribute to sustain the nutrition of people, support the income generation, conserve the environment. I put slides from different projects. This is a project that I coordinate, it's a UN project. Yes. Many species that I mentioned before are disappearing, many varieties. So there is this important thing to conserve and also to reintroduce back to where they have been lost. Look at the amazing diversity, unfortunately it's not very clear, of amaranth in the Andes. Orchids in Turkey, wild orchids are being harvested, not because of the flower, but because the roots are used to make salad. This is also part of a tradition here in Turkey. They're in Turkey to make a special tea. So this is also an aspect that needs attention. Promoting biodiversity through fairs, through exhibition, this is very important, and we do it actually in Italy very well. And value addition and nutrition, we heard our colleagues already, promotion of traditional recipes that support nutrition-rich food. Corporus olotoris, this is interesting. In Italy we know it jute, l'aiuta. And in fact, it's interesting, we know it because it's a fiber, but if you go to Egypt, it's one of the most popular vegetable. They make a molokhia, which is a soup that in Cairo, it's the #1 soup. So, talk about Mediterranean biodiversity, let's remember that we need to preserve this diversity at the species level and at the intraspecific level. Another point in being here with so many nutritionists, we have also evidence that nutrition variability happens not just across the species, but also within the species. And here is the case of apricot varieties and the variation of carotenoid content within different varieties. This is something underestimated, underappreciated. Biodiversity, and also in the Mediterranean, is an opportunity also to empower women, marginalized groups, and this is something very important. Helping the local community to sell, to brand also their product. And lastly, this is a project I talk about the climate change. Many species that originate in the Mediterranean are resilient. They can be really important species to fight the climate change in the future. The very last, which also connects to what Sandro was mentioning, the campaign. Why we need a campaign for agricultural biodiversity? Why? The answer is very easy, it's very simple. Just people do not understand how important is biodiversity. And I give you this very interesting result. The European Commission had a survey carried out in 27 European countries in 2007, interviewing 25,000 people. What it has resulted is that only 2% of these people said that from their point of view, loss of diversity is related to loss of source of food, source of medicine. In the mind of people, there is not a clear understanding of the importance of biodiversity. So this is why we are carrying out this campaign, which have its climate in the next year, and the year dedicated to the biodiversity, biological biodiversity, and we are very grateful to those partners, also including Indan and others in Italy, that will be also working with us to raise awareness next year. So in conclusion, we need to pay attention more on biodiversity. We need to work more on this nexus between cultural diversity and biological diversity. And what is also very important is we need to have closer link between agricultural sector, environmental sector, health and education sector. We should not work
disconnected anymore. This is essential if we really want to have a sustainable Mediterranean diet in the future. And I